Hi all, I'm Fritz O'Skennick and I'm back with yet even more stone thoughts and random rambles. You know, the kind of guy who does nothing but bad things and wonders why his life sucks? Well, that was me. Until eventually something happens that is a little hard to come back from, and you know you've got to turn your life around before karma crucifies you. Well, I decided I'm going to make up for all my mistakes. I'm trying to be a better person. My name is Fritz. Yep, I love that show. Just finished watching all 4 seasons, and as well as providing many laughs, it got me to thinking. And like Earl-Hickey, I've got lots to make up for. Figured I'd start my own karma list of things to do and things to make up for with the 3 top biggies and see where it leads. Number 1 on my list has got to be got Weight Watchers kicked out of Wales. Now it all started when I hired the adjoining room to the Weight Watchers weekly meetings at the local community hall and hosted a food tasting seminar with a few buckets of fried chicken and a banquet of Chinese takeout. Took off all the lids and lined up the feast on the table next to the air vent. Invited a few friends, local politicians and news reporters. Then simply took a plate of food and a seat and watched the reactions through the window of the Weight Watchers meeting next door. First came the worried glances, and the fidgeting, then the biting of knuckles and fingernails, until eventually some dizzy food-starved hulk came crashing through the wall, like the Kool-Aid guy. "Oh yeah!" and proceeded to bury her face into one of the chicken buckets like a feed bag. What I didn't know at the time was that dizzy food-starved hulk was the Weight Watchers representative, and her only weakness was KFC. Well, of course, the rest of the group played follow the leader, and any semblance of self-control was soon lost, as they came stampeding through the wall, like a herd of angry rhinos, as politicians and news reporters were thrown and butted into the air in the charge for the food table. By the time the police and the paramedics arrived, the room was trashed and the Weight Watchers were shamed into a huge payout to everyone who was there that night. Got me a cheque for 10 grand. Now I know what you're thinking, I should have taken the money and run. But when there's loads of easy money to be made in lack of self-control and supply and repressed demand, how could I run? Well, the hall was closed for repair and the Weight Watchers meetings continued in a weekly huge temporary trailer on the premises of the community hall. Figured I'd have me a bake sale and bought in a few $100 worth of delicious cream cakes and treats from the local bakeries. Lined them up tantalisingly on a table next to the trailer and invited a number of reluctant wheelchair-bound friends, politicians and news reporters, and waited for the money to start rolling in. Most left when they saw that the Weight Watchers meeting and the horde of hungry, salivating faces pressed up against the trailer's glass window. But to their credit, with Weight Watchers on probation, they did little more than stare longingly. That is, until I began throwing the cakes into a huge trash can when I realised my scam wasn't working. Then all hell broke loose, as a cry went up and they charged the trailer wall in outrage, tipping it over and crashing into the table and crushing the few remaining terrified local politicians and reporters. That resulted in another 10 grand cheque, a few deaths and Weight Watchers be getting banned from Wales. Now, I'm not sure how I'm going to make up for that one, but it's on my list. Right, well, number 2 on my list would have to be my economy vasectomy scam. In fairness to me, it had started off as a joke in the local newspaper, with a picture of me holding up 2 house bricks and an ad for the service. So imagine my surprise when some idiot inquired, what can I say? If some guy wants to pay me to bash his plums with a pair of house bricks, who am I to argue? Even got the guy to sign a disclaimer, removing me from blame if anything went wrong. And of course it did. My last words had been to him, "Brace yourself, this might sting a little." Right before he collapsed in agony as I brought the bricks crashing together like a pair of cymbals on his prone waiting genitals. His balls swelled to the size of coconuts and he wasn't a happy customer, as you can imagine. Of course I felt a little bit bad about it. So I refunded him his money. I mean, I can't say fairer than that, can I? I still felt sorry for the guy. His penis had never forgiven him, and his bell end no longer held that proud bearing of looking like the back of Darth Vader's helmet when gazed upon. It was more like looking at the back of Anakin's head at the end of Return of the Jedi. And I don't even want to see what karma has in store for me over that one. Maybe I should put it to number 1 on the list. Well, number 3 on my list has got to be overdose my neighbour on laxative. Basically, the guy was a pain in my ass, constantly complaining about the most petty things. Your grass is too long. Your grass is too short. Cut back your edge. You cut it back too far. Now I don't get much shade in my garden. You get the idea. A real pain in the ass. Even when he lost his voice, he started leaving those little yellow post-it notes everywhere, complaining about everything and anything. Eventually I'd had a gutsful and figured the only way to sort out a pain in the ass was to give him a pain in the ass. First I thought about swapping his pile cream for deep heat or Bengay and watching the bastard hop and howl. But I've done that before and he would have known it was me. So I bought some super strength laxative off the internet and waited for him to do his daily stroll to the shop. I then broke into his house and mixed the entire laxative formula into his cocoa tin. And for extra giggles I stretched cling film, you know, that cellophane sandwich wrap stuff, across the top of his toilet bowl. I then went back home and waited for the fun to start. But what I didn't know at the time was that the guy had been suffering from severe constipation for over a year and had a huge backlog pressing heavily on his colon. Which also explained why he was such a grumpy, petty old bastard, I guess. So of course when the laxative did kick in, his backside exploded like Mount Vesuvius on Volcano Day. The sheer force of it rebounded off the cellophane like pebbles off a steel drum as it proceeded to pebble dash both him and the surrounding bathroom like a Vindaloo-filled elephant. You could hear his hollering from 3 blocks away. By the time the paramedics arrived, he staggered out looking like some cat-covered swamp thing, and the flies were buzzing around him like crazy. But he did also look visibly relieved, and even a few pounds lighter, so I don't quite know where that fits on my list. You see, he was a lot nicer to people after that, right? And only complained about things worthy of complaint. So did I do good or bad? Hard one to judge. I guess I'll have to ponder on it as I continue filling my list. Thanks for listening. I'm trying to be a better person. My name is Fritz. See you next time.